Gojo was a popular character in the Jujutsu Kaisen series. Nah, who am I kidding? He's the most popular character. The man with the light skin riz who be having dudes glazing, cuff your chick cause she will get taken, and he got the hands to boop bop your ass if you get flagrant. Stop playing with me, boy. But the reason why he's so popular is because of his power and his humor. I mean, he's like your cool uncle, you feel me? But not the one that makes you dig in his pocket for candy, not that one. I'm talking about the one you smoke weed with. The one who still remembers what it's like to be young. He still guides you, but he can relate to you too. But throw all that out the window, cause that is not what this video is about. Nah, for real though, I want to take this video in a more serious direction than usual. Let's just say Professor Roshi has a presentation, you feel me? In this video, I want to dive deeper and actually talk about Gojo's character because it's very interesting. And it may surprise you how much more there is to him than smacking niggas up, you know, money, power, and respect and all that. In the first episode of Season 2, we see a conversation between Gojo and Geto that was very surprising to me. And this conversation changes everything when it comes to how I look at Gojo's character and his journey of how he got to where he is in the present. So, the conversation I'm talking about is the one they had while they were playing basketball in the gym and it almost ended in a fight. About a fisticuffs, if you will. Given what I thought I knew about their characters, Gojo was saying the things that I would have expected Geto to say, and Geto was saying the things that I would have expected Gojo to say. What this conversation revealed to me, when combined with what else I knew about Gojo, is that he was basically almost a villain. Let me explain. I want you to think about Gojo as a kid and leading up to his fight with Toji, because the Gojo we see during the flashbacks in Season 2 has some differences from the adult Gojo we all know from Season 1. The fact that he has always been the strongest has isolated him. He doesn't identify or relate to anyone else because he's never been in their shoes, so he sees it as a burden to be obligated to protect people. His power wasn't earned, he was born with it. So he doesn't know what it's like to feel weak and helpless, or the frustration and agony that often comes with it. The utter hopelessness that comes from knowing that there's nothing you can do, and the wish that there's someone or something out there that could help you. Compared to characters like Naruto, Goku, Deku, or even Yuta, who we know are all complete powerhouses, Gojo, although stronger respective to his universe, has a major flaw. They all started off weak, or at the very least have been in situations where they weren't strong enough and because of that suffered great loss. This creates character and maturity, and it shows the importance of power and how it's used. I'm not saying that he's not compassionate, because he obviously is. He went the extra mile to not only protect Riko, but to give her a chance to enjoy her last days, and ultimately support her decision to not go through with the Orochimaru level body ritual, as Geto revealed at the end of the third episode. So you might be thinking, well, there you go. Gojo is compassionate and he obviously cares about people. So why am I saying that he lacks empathy? Well, he's conflicted. You could be walking down the street and happen to notice a butterfly stuck in a spider's web, and because you recognize that it's in a sad situation, you could free it. And in that moment, you would be like Choji Akamichi, pure of heart. But does that mean that you relate to that butterfly in your everyday life as you do your fellow man? I'd argue that this is how Gojo viewed Riko, and any others that he grew to have compassion for throughout his journey, at least when he was younger. Now, of course, Gojo was very charismatic, and most of his edgy statements and antics are presented to the audience in a comical and lighthearted way. And of course, we know he's a good guy. But let's push all that to the side for a moment and look at his character objectively. He's a hairline away from being like Nagato, who saw himself as a god and the only one capable of shaping society. Or Frieza, who only does what pleases him because he's the most powerful being in the universe, so why shouldn't he, right? Or at the very least, and honestly the most suitable comparison, Saitama, who was lonely and bored to the point of an existential crisis, feeling like he doesn't belong because there's a part of him that's alien, having power so great that it just doesn't fit into the world you live in. Imagine if you never in your life felt challenged, if you've never felt the joy of trying your hardest and then accomplishing something. I think that feeling is such an important and integral part of being human. Without it, could you ever truly feel fulfilled or at peace? This creates a person who doesn't know their limits, someone who never takes anything serious. Sound familiar? And let's say a challenge does arise that causes him to take it seriously. Why would he rely on anyone else? He's never needed to. Therefore, you can very easily end up stretching yourself too thin. For example, in Gojo's fight against Toji, there was a moment where it seemed as if Toji disappeared and Gojo thought that he might be going after Riko. At this point, Gojo has been awake with his curse technique activated for 3 days straight, stabbed through the back and surrounded by minor curses. Instead of trusting Geto to hold his own for a short while and thinking of himself and how to put himself in a better position, which would ultimately end up being what's best for not only him but Riko too, he immediately motions as if he were going to rush directly to her side. And this is the opening Toji needed and purposely created to defeat him. Because unlike Gojo, Toji is very aware of his limits, his strengths and his weaknesses. That's why he prepared like he did, and this is a power all on its own. And as we can see from episode 4, Gojo only gets stronger. He masters the reverse curse technique for healing during a near-death experience, and the dance with death combined with his unreal powers pushes him even further towards detachment, alienation, and what seems to be arrogance and emptiness. Like if I had never watched season 1 and all I knew of Gojo were his exploits from season 2, I wouldn't be sure if he would grow to be a hero or a villain. I already made comparisons to Nagato, but in this most recent episode, he sounds a lot like Madara. So even after this loss, he is the strongest, and he's never been defeated when he was performing at his best. This can still cause problems because even though Gojo has grown a lot since then, in character and in power, he's still very relaxed and whimsical. Maybe more than he should be. I mean, the people he works for obviously think so. To put it simply, he's a good guy that does what he wants because sometimes he's the only one that can help people, like Yuta and Yuji. The Jujutsu Society wanted them both dead because they were threatened by their power and what could happen if they got out of control, but not Gojo. He was the only one that can handle the type of threat they could possibly pose, so him stepping in to save their lives is a great thing. But decisions like that are great, until they're not. Because there's a fine line between confidence and carelessness. What would happen if he were wrong? What if Yuta would have lost control over Rika and Gojo wasn't strong enough to stop her? I know, it's hard to imagine, right? But a day may come where he bites off more than he can chew, or maybe he's just not there, like when Geto attacked the school in JJK 0. Rika could have rampaged and killed everyone there. Or when Sukuna took over Yuji's body at the prison. If Yuji didn't basically kill himself to stop him, imagine what Sukuna would have done. And even with the way things went, if Sukuna didn't see something special in Megumi, he at the very least would be dead right now. So of course Gojo is an amazing character. He's cool and funny, has amazing fights, and always seems to do the right thing or be there when he's really needed. But maybe while we're looking at all that, we forget that Gojo is actually a deep character, a unique character that portrays the weakness within strength, how a gift can also be a curse, and the dangers of being the most powerful. So many work tirelessly to get to the top, but some are born there, and oftentimes they envy each other. Yo, if you like this video, I got others like it on my channel. Go check them out and make sure to drop me a like and subscribe, cause you know I'm here to stay. Real niggas elevate and motivate. We don't dissipate, you feel me?